The art of the steal or steal, Trump's tariff tantrum. So let's talk about Donald Trump. Yes, Donald Trump. He had a fondness for gold things, and apparently, a fondness for trade wars. In 2018, he decided America needed some. He unveiled new tariffs. On steel, 25%, on aluminum, 10%. The reason? National security. Seriously, that was the reason. His goals were, let's say, ambitious. He wanted to protect American industries. Bring back American jobs, he'd tweet. Make America steel great again. He also wanted to strong-arm countries into new trade deals, especially that pesky NAFTA. He famously said trade wars were good and easy to win, which is like saying a porcupine is cuddly and easy to hug. Now, applying these tariffs to, say, China, okay, you can sort of see the twisted logic. But he also applied them to, yes, Canada, our neighbor, our ally, the country that gives us maple syrup and polite apologies. Canada. Sorry, what was that? The initial shockwave. Imagine being Canada in that moment. You're just upstairs being quiet, probably watching hockey, maybe knitting. Then suddenly your downstairs neighbor, the one with all the loud parties, starts yelling, "You're a security risk." Us? Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau probably spluttered, mid-sip of Tim Hortons. A threat? Are you sure? We even spelled labor with a U for you. It was baffling, utterly baffling. The specific impact was immediate and painful. Canada's steel and aluminum industries were staring down the barrel of a tariff gun. These weren't just abstract numbers, these were jobs, livelihoods, communities built around these industries. Suddenly everything felt very wobbly, like a moose on a unicycle. Which is, by the way, not a national security threat, just deeply impressive. The economic anxiety was palpable. We're talking billions of dollars in trade. Canada sends A of its exports south. About 75%, in fact. That reliance, once a source of comfort, now felt like a trap. The Canadian dollar did a little nervous dance. Business leaders started chugging antacids. It was, to use a technical term, a total mess. Maple syrup diplomacy, Canada's European charm offensive. Now Canada, bless its polite heart, didn't just sit there and say sorry. Oh no, they got their gloves on, metaphorically of course, mostly. They announced retaliatory tariffs, a carefully chosen list of American goods. We're talking Kentucky bourbon, Florida orange juice, ketchup, even lawnmowers. It was a polite yet firm, right back atcha buddy, a sort of economic, how to like it. But beyond the tit for tat, Canada had a smarter, longer-term plan. It was time to diversify. Like a sensible investor, Canada realized it had too many eggs in one American basket. And that basket was currently being swung around by a very unpredictable man. Enter CETA, the Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement with the European Union. This deal, already simmering, suddenly got a V8 engine. The Canadian government went on a charm offensive. Across the Atlantic they flew, talking up the wonders of CETA. "Europe, old friend," they seemed to say. "How doing?" They highlighted the benefits, the new markets, the shared values. It was like Canada was rediscovering its old university flame and realizing they were much more stable than their current partner. Plus, European cheese. That's a big win. And guess what? It started to work. The global trade scramble, more than just poutine at stake. This whole tariff tantrum, of course, wasn't just a private spat between the US and Canada. Oh no, it was a global party, and everyone was invited, whether they liked it or not. Trump's tariffs hit other allies too. Europe, Japan, Mexico, none were spared the national security label. It was like he was Oprah, but instead of cars he was giving out trade disputes. You get a tariff, and get a tariff. Naturally, other countries weren't amused. They started hitting back. China, the European Union, Mexico, they all rolled out their own retaliatory tariffs. Suddenly we were in a global trade war, or at least a very serious skirmish. Supply chains, those intricate global networks that bring us everything from iPhones to avocados, started to get very tangled. It was less art of the deal and more art of the international pileup. Meanwhile, back in the good old US of A, things weren't exactly smooth sailing either. American businesses, the very ones Trump claimed to be protecting, started to complain, loudly. Because, surprise! Tariffs mean higher costs for companies that use imported steel and aluminum. Who knew? Apart from every economist, ever. Legal challenges were mounted. The national security excuse was looking about as convincing as a toupee in a hurricane. All this created a thick fog of uncertainty. The accidental upside-how tariffs made Canada look elsewhere and found gold. Now here's the funny thing. Trump's tariffs were a pain, but also a wake-up call. A sort of economic kick in the pants. It forced Canada to diversify trade. CETA with Europe wasn't the only game in town. There was also the CPTPP. It opened up markets in Asia and the Pacific. Canadian businesses found new customers. It was a crash course in global trade 101. They discovered they could compete and win beyond the beaver tail's long-term shifts in Canadian trade. So, what's the lasting damage, or dare I say, from this whole terrific episode? Well, Canada-US trade relations definitely took a hit. Even after some tariffs were lifted or tweaked, a certain wariness remains. It's like when a friend borrows your favorite sweater and returns it with a mysterious stain. You might forgive them, but you'll think twice before lending it out again. Trust, once dented, is hard to fully repair. This experience has etched itself into Canadian trade policy. Diversification isn't just a buzzword anymore, it's a core strategy. The Canadian government is actively encouraging and supporting businesses to explore markets beyond the good old USA. There are new programs, new initiatives, it's a clear signal. We're not putting all our maple-flavored eggs in one basket again. And frankly, good for them, it's just smart business. Specific Canadian sectors have had to adapt. The steel and aluminum industries, for instance, those initial targets of Trump's affection, have been forced to innovate, to find new efficiencies, new customers. It's been tough, no doubt, but it's also spurred a kind of resilience. What doesn't kill you makes you a more competitive global exporter vibe, which is less catchy but more accurate. The new normal for Canadian businesses is one of vigilance and agility. Always have a plan B and a plan C. The future, more diversification, fewer surprises, hopefully. Looking ahead, what's on Canada's trade horizon? Well, more of the same, hopefully better. Continued pursuit of new trade deals. Strengthening ties with existing partners outside the US sphere of sometimes suffocating influence. Perhaps a shiny new deal with the UK, post-Brexit, or deeper engagement with the booming markets in Asia. The world is big, and full of people who haven't yet experienced the joy of authentic Nanaimo bars. Opportunity knocks. Of course, it's not all smooth sailing or smooth skating if you're Canadian. Global competition is fierce. Protectionist whispers can still be heard in many corners of the world. Diversification is hard work. It takes time, investment, and a lot of patience. It's not just about signing a piece of paper, it's about building relationships, understanding cultures, and, actually shipping things. Logistics, people, it's a thing. But the lessons learned are invaluable. Canada now knows the importance of agility, of resilience, of not being taken for granted, and perhaps of keeping a well-drafted list of potential retaliatory tariffs tucked away, just in case. A little break glass in case of unhinged trade aggression kit. You never know when your neighbor might get a bit unpredictable again. It's always good to be prepared.